This is an AI-generated podcast based on the article Coming Out from Behind the Tree, Frank and Charsky on Faith, Leadership, Forgiveness, and Bringing Your Whole Self to Work, written by Frank and Charsky. The article link is in the show notes. Frank, welcome to Kingdom Factor Collective. I'm really glad you're here.
Barbara, thank you so much. It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
So, you've been in the fitness industry since 1983, which, as you put it, is since dirt was invented. 4 decades of building clubs, turning around organizations, coaching executives, and now you're stepping into something new with Kingdom Factor. What shifted? What made this the right moment?
That's a great question. I think for years, I led executive roundtables. Groups of 12, 15 fitness industry leaders meeting monthly, sharing strategy, holding each other accountable. And it was meaningful work, it really was. But something was always held back. There was always a part of me that stayed behind the tree. And Kingdom Factor gave me a space where I don't have to do that anymore. Your faith is something you can wear as a badge of honor. That freedom to bring the whole of who I am into the room, that's what energized me to launch my first faith-based executive roundtable.
I love that phrase, behind the tree. And it's interesting because you've said your faith and your vocation have actually always pointed in the same direction. Can you unpack that a little?
Yeah, so it starts with the body, honestly. 1 Corinthians talks about your body as a temple, what you feed it, how you sleep, how you hydrate, how you exercise. God gave us this vessel. It's not ours, so we might as well make the ride a little smoother by taking better care of it. And here I am, spending my entire career helping people invest in their physical health. I just didn't always say out loud that there was a theological underpinning to all of it. Does that make sense?
It does. And there's another principle you come back to a lot: treating others the way you want to be treated. You've connected that to Lou Holtz, to Matthew 7:12. How does that actually show up in the way you lead teams?
So Holtz talks about 3 things. Do what's right, do your best, treat others as you'd like to be treated. And I trace it back to my parents, honestly, before I ever heard him say it. But when I became a leader, those weren't suggestions. They were non-negotiable for every team I led. And it was servant leadership, rooted in Scripture, even when I never labeled it as such, right? It was always there, I just wasn't always willing to name it.
That's a really honest admission, knowing something and not naming it. And speaking of honesty, there's a story in the article that I think is the most powerful thing you've shared: a letter, a mailbox in Pittsburgh. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah. So here's what happened. Years ago, I was entangled in a serious situation, not of my making, but devastating. A business partner made decisions that pulled all of us into significant financial losses. Families for the weight alongside us. And I carried that for a long time. And then I heard that my former boss, the one responsible for much of the fallout, had suffered a house fire. And something shifted inside me. I felt compelled to write him a letter. I told him there was one less person chasing him in the universe, that I forgave him. And then I walked to the mailbox and dropped it in.
That took guts, and I imagine it wasn't primarily for him.
Exactly. When I closed that mailbox door, it was like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. I hadn't written it expecting anything back. Forgiveness isn't for the other person's benefit alone, it's for your own. And then, a week or 2 later, the phone rang. It was him. I was stunned, and I thought, this is a God thing. I'm gonna keep doing this.
That's remarkable. And it connects to something else you've done that most people would find equally hard: tithing when the numbers don't add up. You were back in Chapel Hill, no job, and you gave $500 to the church, and then enrolled your son in a Catholic school you couldn't afford on paper. What do you say to the leader who hears that and thinks, that's just not rational?
I say, you're right. It's not rational. If you looked at our household budget, we should never have done that. And I knew that, but I acted on faith when the spreadsheet told me not to. Because I had come to believe that what we hold is not ultimately ours to begin with. Tithing was radical to me the first time I encountered it. Give away 10%? But I committed to it, and I kept that commitment even when it was hard. That's when it matters most,
I want to come back to something you mentioned, the nervousness about posting more openly about your faith on LinkedIn. 40 years of professional contacts. That's a real tension. What do you tell leaders who are wrestling with that same hesitation?
Three things, honestly. First, be unapologetic. Your faith is not a liability. Second, trust the path. The Stockdale Principle from Jim Collins talks about holding hope and honest reality at the same time. That posture has carried me through a lot. And third, be curious. Ask questions. Seek permission to have the conversation. And if someone's not interested, honor that. Respect what everyone believes, whether they're atheist, Jewish, Muslim, Catholic, Baptist, Methodist. Respect it. Maybe you can learn something, maybe you can teach something. It's not about imposing. It's about bringing your whole self to the table while staying genuinely curious about the whole selves of the people across from you.
And your wife, Judy, she's been a big part of encouraging you in this direction.
She really has. She's my spiritual and supportive partner of 40 years, my loving emotional consigliere, as I like to say. She encourages me in these faith-based pursuits and tells me to trust the journey God has us both on. And she's right. I mean, she's usually right. Don't tell her I said that.
Frank, this has been a genuinely rich conversation. If someone's listening right now and they've spent years compartmentalizing faith and work, wondering if a community exists where both can coexist without apology, what's the one thing you want them to hear?
Come out from behind the tree. The door is open. That's it. You don't have to hide anymore.
I love that. Frank Ancharski, thank you so much for being here. This was really something. Listeners, the full article is linked in the show notes. I'd encourage you to read it. It goes deep. We'll see you next time on Kingdom Factor Collective.